animals can and are interested in the confirmation. So when they know, oh my God, my human being understand what I'm saying. This is going to be super easy from now on. And then the behavior changes actually when they know that we have telepathy intact here.
We'll make it out and fall in love tonight.
So yeah, take us back to childhood. Where did this whole ability to communicate with animals, just your connection to consciousness and everything else, when did that all start happening for you and really start opening up? And also, like, I'm fascinated, like, you live in Denmark, right?
Right.
Were you
Yeah.
born and raised there?
No, I'm a Korean adoptee and I'm a twin. So my twin sister and I, we arrived in Copenhagen, Denmark on a hot summer in 1980, actually. So that was a few years ago. I have contact with my biological family, but that's a whole different story. I feel very privileged to know my roots and my story from birth till where I am today. Actually, that's a privilege. But we came to Denmark and I felt very different. I looked different. I felt different being an adoptee amongst these Scandinavian blonde girls with blue eyes and blonde hair, and the ability which I didn't know what was, because in the 80s we didn't talk about spirituality and definitely not telepathy, even though CIA used it back then, but it's not common knowledge for people that telepathy was a thing. And as I grew up already as a 4 or 5-year-old child, I felt like the animals communicated to me. And I think that's pretty normal for a lot of children. Like, oh, the dog said it was hungry, or I felt that the sheep told me that. And through the childhood, it's because of the grown-ups telling the children, no, it's imagination or it's not possible, that a lot of children shut down for these abilities. But my gift comes with a very luxurious telepathical download, fast download, because I do think telepathy is something everyone can practice, but I do think I have a special flair for it, actually, because I download very fast. But I also was shown when people were going to die and what they were going to die from or off, and I was 5. So that was just a very overwhelming gift. And I was very lonely with that ability because my friends didn't talk about spirituality. And even though I said, what about crystals? What about angel cards? I still felt like the odd one out. But I was accepted and I was very popular in school, but I felt somewhat different. And when I turned 19 years old, I contacted a clairvoyance school because here in Europe, we have a very high standard when it comes to ethics and morality. And I like that. So I knew I had to go to a school, and it was pretty funny because I thought, is that a Harry Potter school or like a witchcraft school or what is this? And I told the teacher, can you shut this down? This is super overwhelming. When I enter a room, I sense what everybody's thinking, feeling, what's being said, what's not being said. I'm going crazy here. It's a very schizophrenic experience. And she was the one that told me, you are going to be a very famous animal communicator one day and a clairvoyant. And I told her, animal what? Animal what? Because we didn't talk about dog whispering or horse whispering, and I didn't have a dog or a horse or a cat. Even though I grew up with dogs, I didn't have
I was going to ask if you had pets growing up.
No, yeah, dogs, but that was basically it. And my parents had, chickens in the backyard, but that was it. And she told me, you're going to give birth eventually to a son, and he's going to be very special gifted. And you're going to enter the stage and talk about your son and his special gifts. And I was 19, so I was more curious about who's the dad? Is he good looking? I had no idea that she talked about TEDx or TED TV. And I had to go through 60 people with clairvoyant studies and mediumships. And then just out of curiosity, I trained with 40 animals. I took in everything like goldfish, birds, horses, dogs, cats. What's the difference? When am I doing clairvoyance? When am I practicing mediumship? And when am I doing telepathy? And what's the freaking difference here? So I was very autodidact because no one had practiced telepathy back then, or could help me with, the theory or the methods. And then I just, got super talented, and it's like a muscle in other parts of our body. When you practice and you train, you become faster and stronger. And when you stop training, you become weaker and slower. So because I am training every single day and have been since I was 19 years old, and I'm 46 now, I'm getting better at it. I'm getting pretty good at it now.
I'm fascinated. Go ahead, Ben.
No, go ahead.
You go ahead.
You said like a great point, because that's going to be a lot of questions. The clairvoyance, mediumship, and telepathy, and what is the difference? Is there a difference? Would you mind going into that just a little bit?
Sure. When I work as a clairvoyant or I practice mediumship, we, as clairvoyants, take in informations from a third party. That could be spiritual guides or angels or a deceased person. But when I practice telepathy, it's only me and the client, me and the non-speaker, or me and the animal. So it's more like a more direct communication form.
Thank you.
That totally makes sense,
It
right?
does. It does. What were you going to ask now?
I want to know, I didn't realize that you were a twin. Mm-hmm. And so I'm curious whether or not there's some, because there's so much, oh my goodness. I grew up with some really good friends of mine that were twin sisters. And I know that in the scope of, society and everything like that, like twins have a special bond and a special connection. And so I'm just curious what that not what that actually is, but what that experience was like for you. And if you feel like you have a deeper, more telepathic connection or just spiritual connection with your sister because you guys are twins, or if it's all kind of the same thing.
I think being a twin gave me a very symbiotic experience of another human being. I was so dependent on my sister for our survival, for creating our self-defense mechanisms in our later years, our little clubbing when we came to Denmark, and how dependent I was. And when I'm that dependent on another person, my sister, and I trust her that much as I did, telepathy will happen. It will occur, because that's what spouses experiences all the time. That's what mothers to children experience all the time. Not because they're born a non-speaker, but just as a toddler or baby that hasn't developed the language yet. Parents know, they know. And I think being telepathic, animal communicator, a twin, and then giving birth to Philip later, my autistic child, is just double up, triple up the effect on my telepathical abilities. They maxed it out when they gave birth to me.
So much opportunity, right? So many ways to practice. If you wouldn't mind, tell us some more about this school that you went to, because I'm fascinated by that as well. We might have some version of that over here in the US. I think I've heard of, I'll sit here and think all day long, won't be able to come up with it, but give us a better idea of what that actually is, because it really sounds amazing.
We have organizations and unions as spiritual and alternative workers here in my country, and it's not like accepted like in the Medicare system, but it's kind of a blue stamp. And also for therapists here, they aren't as accepted as the psychiatrist, for example, but it's still a blue stamp and an acceptance that you have been on an education that is accepted within this union. And the rules or being able to be in that union is a lot of things that are required. And one of those things in my clairvoyant school was the amount of exercises and students and live audiences I needed to help and be very accurate every single time. The theory was very, very high standardized, or it was to prevent us from being able to cold read other people. So instead of he nods his head, that's a yes, they would blindfold us. And during my education, both as an animal communicator and the master classes I have for parents, I blind them as well. It was so inspiring to say, when you can't see a reaction, you have to feel a reaction. So yeah, and you had an interview where the teacher needed to tune in to if it was my path or not. And I thought, yeah, it's easy for you to say. You're just making that up so people can feel special. But I saw that there were people who didn't get in because she knew they were too immature or not ready for it or not grounded enough to practice, because that's what it's required. And that's my standards too. You need to be able to live on planet Earth and talk, in a very normal way for other people to digest what you're saying, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense.
Okay.
And you had all that at 19. I'm thinking about 19. I definitely was not a grounded, ready to go into this space. So it's really incredible that at 19, you had that awareness, that ability, and you were stepping into that so fully. That's...
You say fully, and thank you, but can I curse on this podcast?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, because as a 19-year-old, I was a fuck up. I just met the wrong dudes, and I was kind of a boyish girl, and my mother, I think she hated me, back then, and I wasn't immature. It was just my way of surviving to be a cool girl. So no one would look into my vulnerability or me being such an empath and super sensitive. So I don't think I was ready, and yet still I must have been ready. Otherwise I wouldn't have been so attracted to going to that school, because the first goal for me going to the school was shutting it down. It wasn't becoming an animal communicator.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's right. I love that you, sorry, and then I'll let you. Just the fact that the way you said that and the way you worded that right there, because so many people and so many times we get into this space of, I have to be perfect. I have to be ready. I have to have like all my ducks in a row. Like, who's counting these ducks? I don't have any ducks. They're definitely not in a row. And all of this space of where we judge ourselves and not being able to step into that. And when we hear stories of being like so young and just seeming to have it, and you're like, absolutely not. That's not what it was. I wanted to turn it off. I was a fuck up. Just having that space just allows the humanness of all of us to come through. That felt very liberating, the way that you said that. It was just like, oh, it's okay. Like, allows that little bit in your belly just to open up and be like, we are all allowed to be human. We don't have to have any of this figured out at any age. We just get to be where we are.
And we don't have to have spiritual abilities and be a guru, We're still human beings.
Yes.
Did you have a lot, because you mentioned earlier, kids, it's natural for kids to see these things, to feel these things, to feel connection. And then it's the parents and culture and society that kind of shuts that down and just chalks it up to imagination and steers them away from it. Was that very similar to your path as well? Was it something that you had a hard time kind of believing in and embracing, or did you always know in the background that it was a real thing and kind of ignored what you were being told growing up?
I'm a Taurus, so I'm so stubborn, and I'm
familiar with that, Ditte. There's somebody else that I know that's that's also a stubborn Taurus.
So sorry. So sorry about that. But we do shit, Taurus people, we invent things, we're creative and we get it done. But I grew up in a very Christian home, actually. And I don't know what's up with that church, but that's a whole different debate and I'm more vulnerable. But my parents disliked spirituality because they thought it was against God. And I was like, it's not against God, but I couldn't go into that debate because I could feel on them, this is not debatable, Ditte. Don't touch the things. And I was like, can we do Ouija boards? Can I do angel cards? And my dad was so upset with me. And still, I kept on practicing. So even though I didn't get the support as a child, I just knew I have to seek into this world. I'm so attracted to the world, this world.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Woolly. Let's talk about what's in your clothes. Most fabrics today are loaded with synthetic fibers and microplastics. And every single time you put them on or wash them, those tiny plastics are shedding off into the air, into the water, and even into your skin.
That's why we love Woolly clothing. Their apparel is made from all natural merino wool. No microplastics, no synthetics. Just high quality, comfortable clothes that work with your body and not against it.
And merino wool isn't just soft and comfortable. It's temperature regulating, moisture wicking, and naturally odor resistant. So you can stay cool in the summer, warm in the winter, and fresh all day long.
Plus, it's biodegradable and sustainable. So when you choose Woolly, you're not just upgrading your wardrobe, you're making a smarter choice for the planet.
Right now, listeners of the podcast can save 15% off of everything over at Woolly. Click the link in our description and be sure to use promo code Steph and Craig to get that discount.
Wear better, feel better with Woolly clothing. We get those things shut down like that. Even like the best intentions of the parents and feeling like it's taking you away from something. Like that's looking at it the best case scenario. Sometimes it's not the best intentions, but it's really easy to think that your connection and that spiritual and feeling that is actually going against something. And I know for a long time for myself, like I had to struggle with, I thought I was evil. And
What?
that was a story because of any of the other feelings and any of the things that come up in any of the connections. And it was like, I'm evil. And just like I wasn't told that in a negative way. It wasn't like you're an evil person. It was just the way that I was loved in a sense through certain things, just the best intention coming through there. And the story that we get with the religious, like you said, we don't need to go into that, but the message that comes across that anything other than this is in fact against God. It's against the church. It's against, and it's I'm trying to not say the word there, but it's the opposite of.
I
And
get
I'm
it.
feeling my throat clear up right now. My throat's like, oh, don't say too much. Don't say too much, which was funny.
And it's a very, very vulnerable debate, right? But the whole point of the matter is you can relate.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so many of us can. So the more that we speak to that it's a big deal. The more that we get to talk with each other and unlock those doors for each other.
Yeah, what would you say to people that may be feeling some of these things or have felt these things in their past as children, growing up and everything like that, but then really struggle in believing that it's actually a thing, that it's not just something that they're making up, that it's not just their imagination, or that maybe they're struggling like Steph in thinking that it's something else that's bad that they shouldn't be doing, or, what would you say to people like that that are just struggling?
I would say to the children, believe in yourself because you got it all figured out. And at one point, some person said the earth is round and other people said, no, it's flat. And, who's laughing now? So when children are... Children can, up till the age of around 6-7 years old, they haven't developed the frontal lobes of the brain and building that bridge in the brain, which makes them more open for spirituality, telepathy, animal communication and stuff. And when they are around that 7 years old, their brains develop. We call it develop. I'm like, I don't know if it's development, but the brain becomes aware of the past, the present, and the future, which also explains why human beings are able to calculate, manipulate, and figure out things. Also, in the positive way, figure out consequences for their actions. So when a child is open and believe and has that belief system, I think I'm an animal communicator. I'm like, I believe you. And a lot of my students, grown-up students, have told me it's so difficult for them to unwind that filter again. They wished they were supported from the very beginning. So to the children, just keep up the good work. I believe you. And to the parents, believe them, because if you don't believe them, they are going to be left with not believing in what they feel. And if they can't even trust their emotion as a child, then what's going to happen to them when they grow up?
I love that. I know, Philip, your son was a big role in your journey, and I'm curious if you wouldn't mind sharing what changed for you when he came on the scene, and what did he bring, and what gifts did he bring for you, and kind of help in the process of all these abilities that you have and that you've been connected to. We'd love to hear about him and your story.
Oh, yeah. Philip, he's turning 17 years old this year. And I didn't expect to become pregnant when I was pregnant. It was actually a horse who told me I was pregnant. I'm not kidding you. I was in the stable. My client, the human being, told me, I have a pregnant mare. Can you tell me if it's going to be a stallion or if it's another mare, and when it's going to give birth to this foal? And the mare, the horse, said, I'm pregnant with a stallion, and so are you. And I was like, what? No. And I ran home, took a pregnancy test, and I was pregnant. And during these 9 months of pregnancy, I think similar to all other mothers on this earth, I worried a lot. I worried for my child. I worried, is he safe and sound? Can I protect him? What about my job, financial situation? I worried so much, and I sensed something was off. And when I told the nurses, I think something is off, it's difficult for me to figure out what it is specifically. They told me, don't worry about it. You're a first-time mom. It's probably just, worries. So I gave birth to him. It was very traumatic. It was a C-section with no anesthetics at all. I wasn't sedated. And he came to the world. And in the minute I got him on my arm, I felt something is off, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And after 3 months, he was 3 months old. He never looked at me when I breastfed him. And I told the nurse again, something is off. Please believe me. And she said, no, you're just a first-time mom. And then my inner Taurus was like, I'm getting sick and tired of this. So I said, you're fired. I need another nurse. And then in came the next nurse, and she got us hospitalized in a heartbeat of a second. And therein came neurologists, psychiatrists, doctors telling me, your son is completely blind. We think he's brain damaged, and he's not going to be able to see anything at all. And he was 3 months old. So it was, welcome to motherhood. This is my worst nightmare. And I asked the spiritual guides, why me? Why me? I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't smoke cigarettes. I don't do drugs. I did all the allergy perfumes, lotions. I did everything by the book. And I felt the answer back was, if not you, then who should take this task? And I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. I'll take it. It has been a long journey and many fights through a system, regardless if it's Europe or America or India or where we are located in the world. This is a huge fight and a battle for a better life and better welfare and worthiness of these children. But I always believed that something bigger was in there. So even though he couldn't speak to begin with, even though he was totally blind, even though when he was 3 years old, he got the diagnosis autism as well. I just knew, hey, kiddo, let's prove them wrong. So I constantly telepathically told him or asked him, how can I help you? I don't believe you can't see. I will not accept this. And he said or transferred to me, keep going, mom, keep going, just train my nerves. It's an optical nerve problem. So I did a lot of training, and I think he was 9 months old, and I stuck my tongue out of my mouth like parents do, like ooh, making silly faces. And then he stuck his tongue out of his mouth back to me, and I was like, and I told his dad, "Did you see that? Is that a coincidence? You know, could he sense that, or did he see that?" Or and then hope was there. Hope was planted. So today I'm still training him because the eyesight is so vulnerable to you. If we put something on one eye, you know, after a week our sight will get weakened, you know, so we have to constantly train his vision. But I think because he knows, like I told on the telepathy tapes, that I'm capable of practice telepathy, he's a teenager. He's so lazy, you know. So often he's like, "Can't you just read my mind?" I'm like, "No, open your mouth and tell people things, Philip." And he's like, "Okay." And then
We have a 18-year-old son as well, so we're familiar with that teenage energy of not wanting to do much other than what they want to do.
it's like we lost our children. Philip went into puberty as a 10-year-old, and I was like, "Who are you? What about your?"
Yeah, it's definitely what he was, I think 13, 14.
Yeah, he was about 12. He was about 12 when he started to really, but it's like our daughters are different in that too. Like we have a daughter that started incredibly young. I think she was about 9 when she started, and it was really intense when it started building up. I'm like, that's so young. That's wild. And then trying to figure out how to do it. She was definitely an early one, and then he was a little bit more like the 12-year-old phase.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I think. But yeah, we're still navigating it all.
Right. Yeah, because we don't get a driver's license when we become parents, right? Everyone can basically, you know, have a child. We don't get a handbook.
We're all just doing our best out here trying to figure it out. I love like just the awareness of being able to communicate with them. It's so many they brush off women a lot with that. First time moms, they go off the age. We have this instinct, we have this knowing, and I'm glad you were heard at 3 months, but it's just like heartbreaking to hear how many times we're telling you something's up, something's different, we need to look at this, and we just get brushed off. We don't really know what we're talking about. We're too young, we're too new. It's all of that space. And to finally, when you had that with that nurse and she came in and immediately, like you said, it was just like so fast that you were listened to, you were heard, you were validated, and your son was then getting the medical teams brought in this space. Can you talk a little bit like how that relationship went? Did she just, with that nurse, was she just like believe you right off the bat? Was it listening to you? Was it seeing with her own face? Like how did that relationship build, and when she took it to that next step?
I think it was a little bit of both. Actually, she witnessed that I didn't have eye contact with him, and she could tell on me that I was a very calm and specific mother and not hysterical, you know, in a panic attack or anything. But I was like, hey, can we just observe my son here? And if he needs help, will you please help us? And she said, okay, I get it now. So that was how it was established. And going to the hospital system, that's just cold, you know, it's so not emotional, but that's basically what I needed. I needed what's going on. And after so many years in this hospital system, I am when I share my story about Philip, I also encourage the parents out there to trust their intuition and to make the similarity of what about those children who are not believed in? Well, I have felt what it's not like to be believed in. And it's so super frustrating because I was right all the time about my son.
Let's get into animal communication.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's start breaking down, like, if you're going, like, somebody, first off, we're full believers, so it's not like we have to go through the effort of trying to, like, but I want to give the person that, not the skeptic. I'm not too worried about the skeptical person out there that doesn't believe that it's a thing, but the person that might be interested in it but wants to understand it a little bit more. Where would be the best place to start?
Today's episode is brought to you by Heritage Still. Let's be honest, your cookware matters. And if you're still cooking with mass-produced non-stick pots and pans, you're missing out on better flavors, better durability, and better craftsmanship.
That's why we went with Heritage Still. All of Heritage Still's cookware is manufactured right here in Tennessee. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just ironclad stainless steel designed to give you exceptional heat control and long-lasting performance.
Whether you're a pro in the kitchen or just learning your way around, Heritage Still makes your cooking easier, more precise, and more enjoyable. One of the biggest benefits of going with stainless steel cookware from Heritage Still is you won't be exposing yourself or your family to those toxic chemicals in that nonstick cookware.
And right now, for listeners of the Steph and Craig Show, you can save 10% off everything at their website. Head over to heritagestill.us/Steph and Craig and be sure to use promo code Steph and Craig at checkout to save that 10%.
Invest in cookware that lasts a lifetime. Heritage Still, chef-grade cookware for less.
I think the best place to start to believe in nonverbal communication, which is called telepathy, is when you observe one dog in the meeting with another dog. They sense one another from miles apart. How do they do that? So when skeptics or criticize, well, you cold read each other, or you can read on the dog's physical language. I'm like, I'm sorry, beat that, fuck that, because they sense each other around the corner and they haven't even, observed the other dog. So they smell each other, sense each other, listen. They use all of their senses. To practice telepathy, it requires that you have all 5 senses activated and number 6, because telepathy is number 7. So that's one way to start. That was the simple explanation. That makes sense about dogs sensing each other, and we know that as dog owners.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a big fan of, like, wolves and wildlife and everything like that, and the ability for wolves to connect and sense when, other wolf pack members are coming back and when they've gone, and being able to just really tune in to each other across miles and miles and miles. And so that makes a ton of sense.
Thank you.
I watched growing up, we always had animals. We had dogs, we had horses and cats. And my mom was she was the one that would take care of anything went wrong, any injuries, anything that they needed that attention for. She just had this amazing warm bond with all of these animals that she could just connect on such a level. And I didn't quite realize what was actually happening. I don't think I really realized what was happening until listening to your episode and seeing how much deeper it went with the animals. But she was this bond that she had with them, and this really, really intense connection in the way she knew how to treat them, knew what they needed. I remember watching her give CPR to puppies. Puppies came too soon and they were outside and they were cold, and she just was with a bucket and warm water and slowly raising their temperature and giving little, and I think all but one, if I remember right. And I might be wrong on that. She might have got them all. I was little, but she's out there and she's just connecting. And the mama was right there with her and licking and checking as she's getting them back. And she's just always had this really deep, fascinating connection to animals. And it was more than her love for it. It was like this understanding that she had in that space.
Is she still alive, your mom?
She is.
Have you told her this?
To that part, I've been talking to her about the telepathy tapes, and I've told her specifically of this one. And she's actually, wonders, she doubts her own, she's going to hear that and be like, you're not talking about me. She has a question, how do you know if they're still with you? She wants to know if her her dog, her Dakota, is still with her. And I think so. But when it comes to, it's just something that she did so naturally that she doesn't, I believe, she doesn't think there's anything more than she just knew what to do in that moment. You know, she doesn't see the
Right.
deepness of it. I think she will after listening to this, though.
I hope so. She sounds very talented.
She is.
How can somebody take maybe they have that natural instinct like Steph's mom and really start to tune into it even more? So how can we go from just a natural inclination for connection with animals to being able to actually telepathically communicate and connect with them?
Definitely to meditate, because meditation will lower your brain waves, and being able to trust yourself requires you are very self-centered. And when I practice, or not practice, sorry, when I educate my students in telepathy, I require for them to be aware of their own body, and which means, do I feel a pain in my shoulder, or where is sorrow, the emotion of sorrow placed in my body? Where is the emotion of anger placed in my body? And that's basically body therapy. Because if you don't know that with yourself, it's getting very difficult when another soul is transferring health issues to you. Then you can't tell the difference. Is it my shoulder or the dog's shoulder? So that's meditation, centered, be self-aware.
Is that what it feels like sometimes when you're communicating with an animal, that you'll get a physical sensation in your body that's representative of something they might be feeling?
Yeah, not to me, not so much, because after 27 years of practicing telepathy, I had to ask the animals not to send it into my system anymore. It's too exhausting for me. So they are just showing it to me on their physical bodies so I can scan it. But for my students, they experience pain, like, whoa, what is going on here all of a sudden? And then they are very convinced, well, I don't suffer from pain usually in that shoulder. And telepathy can be shown by emotional transfer, or physical transfer, thought transfers, and clairsentience, like the empathy. So it depends on what kind of telepath you are and how it's coming to you or being transferred to you.
Do we have the capacity to connect to all of those different types of telepathic communication so that we're receiving it at times in those different fashions? Or is it the type of thing where we might have a stronger sense and a stronger connection with one or the other?
I think that it varies from one person to another, because some people are very visual and other people, like, I can't visualize this from my inner eyes, but it can all be developed. That's different. So the most important tool from this toolbox is definitely clairsentience, the empathy. Because if an animal shows you an image of, let's say a show jumping horse shows you the water jump, like I told on the telepathy tapes, it's pretty important to know, does the horse like jumping over water or dislike jumping over water? Because it's a matter of how you interpret the telepathical downloads, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. I think it's one of the things that I get caught up in quite a bit, is trying to do that exact thing of interpret what it is that I'm interpreting, right? Trying to understand exactly what the message is, or what the image is, or what the thought is, or the physical sensation that I'm having, or something like that.
From an animal, or?
From all sorts of different, I mean, not just animals, but from people, from, we come from a background, and I guess we probably should have shared some of that as well. We both have a spiritual connection to source, energy, consciousness, whatever we're calling it, or whatever we'd like to call it. I just think of it as energy. We've done energy readings and theta healing and all sorts of different stuff like that over the past decade or so. And so it's something that I feel very connected to. It's something that it's the thing that I've always had and always felt connected to in some regards from childhood and stuff like that. But it's the thing that also I struggle to understand, I question and I doubt and have all of those other things that are on top of it. So just to hear you speak about it in those different ways really, really helps.
I can give you a trick, a trick if you want to.
Absolutely.
I think that the basic default setting my students make when they enter my Harry Potter school is they're waiting for the other party to give informations. So they can look at a dog or a horse or a non-speaker, but it's animal communication basically, and say hi. So let's go, and the dog would go, let's go where? What? Go where? So the dog would wait for it, and just anticipate, because it lacks the leadership. And when I say leadership, I'm not talking about physical violence here. I'm talking about leading the way through a conversation to prevent the dogs getting too insecure, right? So the more question you'll ask, the more answers that will come to you. So that's the trick.
I like that. It makes sense.
Yeah. Like absorbing this, letting it sink in.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
One of the things that we started noticing, and so it's just like that. Oh no, because that's that. Ours was awareness, and I love the being able to ask questions. But we noticed our dog would start to cue before one of us would get home, and not pull, like how you said, dogs can sense around the corner, right? But we're driving in the car down the road, and she's about 5 minutes before she starts to get really like, oh, somebody's coming home, and she'll let us know when the other person's coming home. So we started playing with it, and like tell us when she starts to cue. And it's about that 5 minutes. And then hearing when you were talking about it on that interview of how they can sense that, and they can sense that like when the mind changes too. And so just to speak to them plainly, and we've been able to witness a reaction with that. So I know I'm going off here. It's just what sparked on that. When we speak to her, it's like, we'll just have a conversation with her. We're going to the store. We'll be back at this time. And before when we would get home, she was just a crazy puppy. She was
full of anxiety, freaking out, like just
out the window.
Oh my God, I'm so hyper. Oh my God, people are home. I'm so happy to see you guys. Blah, 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 blah. Just, almost to the point where it was like too much.
Yeah.
Because she's knocking everybody over. She's just very
tearing the grocery bags if you're carrying anything. Yeah. She's like pulling it down.
Got lots of fun energy.
And so started communicating with her really well about being where we were going, when we were going to be home. And then she still cues, but can even just sit and be calm now and just kind of like whine a little bit and just wait. And when you come in, she's still, she's still young. She'll still but the change is significant, the way that we communicate with her and the way that she responds with that. And you're just saying, like, I've been trying to hear her. I've been trying to hear and trying to listen, and I haven't been asking questions. And so that's just like a whole other
that's nice trick. And I'm so happy to hear that these very simple tools worked for you, and it works for everyone. You're not the only one who said that. It's such a privilege for me to pass on such a simple tool, and that people are doing it. It's like, because they are so clever. Because when you said she gives you the information, or she knows it 5 minutes before one of you get back home. I think it's because 5 minutes before you enter the garage, or the stairs or the house, you are sending the thought towards your dog or spouse or each other, or I'm there soon, I am there very soon, and she picks up on that. I have been, I'm an author of several books, and the one I think is super important to understand how easy this is, because a lot of people are saying the animals have the behavioral issues, right? Have you heard of that? Oh, my dog misbehaved. My horse doesn't understand. My cat is, I'm like, what? No. You have taken in an animal that lives based on instincts. So it doesn't wake up in the morning and think by itself, let me be way too much around 5 p.m. because it can't figure out, it's not manipulative. But creating something I called personality profiles. I don't know if you watched that or observed that on my website, but creating personality profiles makes other people understand. It's so simple. When we have her name was Roxy, your dog, right?
Yes.
What we have to do with Roxy, who will be, allow me for saying, a sensitive princess. So I have the playful one, sensitive one, the princess or prince, the king or queen, a rigid, lazy one, and a shock traumatized one. That's 6 personality profiles. So when I look at the picture of Roxy without doing telepathy, I sense on her she's sensitive and she's princess. So the sensitive one needs the time, the structure of time, as you told her, and the princess one needs the acknowledgement constantly. Am I doing correct here? Is this okay, mom, dad? Is this now, mom, dad? That's the princess. So when you practice the structure and the timeline to her, plus the acknowledgement and the positive affirmation or confirmation when she's doing something you want her to do, whoop, you have no behavioral issues. Does that make sense to you?
Makes total sense.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and it's almost funny because it's the literal shift that we started making after listening to you on the telepathy tapes, because
This episode is brought to you by Nutrotonic. You've probably heard of Shilajit, but did you know that not all Shilajit is created equal? Most of what's out there on the market is low quality, diluted, and packed with fillers, but not Nutrotonic's Shilajit.
Nutrotonic sources a rare form of red Himalayan Shilajit, packed with minerals, fulvic acids, and essential nutrients to help boost focus, energy, and overall well-being.
This is the real deal. Pure, potent, and sourced from the high altitude regions of the Himalayas. No additives, no junk, just nature's most powerful supplement.
If you want to elevate your health naturally, now is the time. Listeners of the podcast can save 15% off everything at Nutrotonic. So head over to the website nutrotonic.com/Steph and Craig and be sure to enter promo code Steph and Craig at the checkout.
Fuel your body the way nature intended with Nutrotonic Shilajit.
it's literally just speaking to her as if she's fully aware and completely understanding everything that we're communicating. I loved in the episode you talked about like time being something that she's not like looking at the clock and being like, okay, it's 3:30, they're going to be home soon, but she has a conceptual understanding of it. So I'm always very cognitive of like, even before we started this episode and came in here, because our little studio's in, a bedroom in our house and everything like that. And she's outside, and not outside the house, but it was like, we're going to be podcasting for about an hour and a half and we'll be done. And then we'll get to hang out and visit and stuff like that. And seeing the shift in her behavior and the way that she's able to just feel way more relaxed. It
Right.
just seems like she's at so much more peace because she just kind of understands what's happening now, as opposed to us moving around kind of oblivious to her, and not oblivious, like uncaring, but not really considering that we need to communicate to her what we're doing and how we're moving about our life and what's coming next. And now we're going to go here and we're going to go do this the exact same way that we would if she was a little girl, right? If she was a little kid, and just trying to let her know what was going on and what was happening. And it's a significant shift in the way that it's not to say she had bad behavior beforehand, but she definitely was, there was because both of us have grown up with dogs. I've had dogs pretty much my entire life. We actually looked at it a while back where it was like, I think I've only spent maybe like a year of my entire life without a dog in my life, maybe a year or two, but I've had dogs my entire life. And I had huskies for a while as well. And so I used to like mush and sled and felt very, very connected to those dogs for, a very long time, and still do feel connected to them. But I looked at them from a thought perspective that was very much like, they're a dog and I'm the leader of the pack and I'm trying to do all of these things. And it helped a lot in regards to kind of how I connected with dogs and how I felt connected to them. But this shift in regards to just seeing them so completely more not just connected, but completely able to understand. So it's less about me trying to communicate to her in the language of a dog. Like that's a lot of what I used to do with my huskies, is try to communicate with them the way that a dog would communicate with them, with body language, with movement, all these kind of different things that they would respond to. But being able to communicate to her in that way sometimes, but mostly it's being able to communicate with her just the same way that I would communicate with anybody else, just by
I
talking to her.
I totally love that. And there's the result of the change you've made, right? Because it's an energy language. It's energetically and visualization as well. Because when you say I'm going to the supermarket, most people that are visual can create an image of a supermarket now, plus the emotion of what does it feel like to get to the supermarket. Am I super stressed? I have to go to the supermarket, or am I very calm about, whoa, it's going to take 30 minutes, and the dogs are picking up on that, the image and the emotion, and that's telepathy again.
We get questions a lot, and I shouldn't say we get questions a lot, but it's something that we question a lot, as well as we've heard other people question it a lot, where it's like, how do you know if you're connecting to your dog or to your pet in any sense, right? An animal that you loved and cared for after they've gone, after they're no longer here?
Yeah,
What
that's a
are
good
some
question.
signs or some ways that that can happen?
I just helped a woman here today, actually, on an online session with a deceased dog, and I told her without knowing, oh, you can smell your dog, right? You hear it snores, and in your mind, you doubt yourself: is that my husband or is it my dog? And she was like, what? I never told this to anyone. And I was like, because your dog said, it's me that snores. It's me that farts. It's me that smells. It's me in your house. So they can put in a scent or an energetic print of them being there for a while, not forever, but especially after they are going to the other side, like heaven, we call it heaven. Often they are here for 2-3 months. And this dog couldn't leave her side. And it's been a year since it's been put down, but I totally understand because it was so traumatic the way it was being put down. So she wasn't ready for it to move on to the other side. And I helped her with that, if you believe on that kind of stuff. But that was very beautiful, very beautiful. And I think that most people who has lost an animal feels such a grief on the same level as losing a child or a human being. And it's so disrespectful when other people don't understand that love for animals. Like, what are you crying about? It's only a dog. I'm like, say that again. It's the purest love, the most loyal friend a person will ever get. So you can't replace that with something else, not even a human being.
Do you think that, or not think, or how? Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. That is so
Why
funny. I
are
am
you
so
nervous?
nervous.
What makes you nervous?
There's so much amazingness here. Like I don't, my throat just keeps shutting down. It's okay. It is totally okay. I don't want to mess up and miss this opportunity that we're having speaking with you and getting this. You bring so much love to this space, and it's like you open so many doors, and I want to make sure that the people that are listening get to hear you and get to see and have these doors open, because it's really, really incredible
Okay, but
listening to
Steph,
you.
just hold on for a sec. Okay, don't be nervous. I'm just a human being. And if you get more questions after 1.5 hours with me, we're gonna do a do-over another time. I'm coming back then. So don't be nervous. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You mentioned that they're with you for like the few months, except for in this lady's case where she had there was a traumatic passing, and so you helped the dog cross over. And when we talk about we talked beginning about the clairvoyance and the mediumship and telepathy, and how they're, one's like a third party, and the telepathy is the connection right there with it's the one-on-one. When we go into mediumship with an animal, is that are you able to communicate with them, or are they still sending signs to you? Are they still coming around? How do you know if even after all of this time that they are still not crossed over, not at peace with themselves, but still with you in a sense, or able to to communicate with you?
That's a good question. To answer it backwards, it's telepathically. I know mediumship with animals is telepathic, and there's this is a huge debate. There's so much information in my head. It's like a radio frequency. If we have an old radio, and we have planet Earth, and we have low frequencies here, then we have like a middle section where the animal is still present here on Earth and hasn't turned completely over to the higher frequency. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when I helped that woman with the dog, I knew it didn't cross over yet, because when I asked the dog, "Can you tell me where you are?" it showed me her living room. But if I talk to animals that has crossed over, or have been on the other side, they show me forever green fields, or forever water, forever ocean, forever forests, walks, and that's the difference. That's how I know the difference.
That's amazing. Okay.
I have this crazy, and I shouldn't say crazy. That's the other thing that I'm constantly trying to get rid of articulating any of these things with the caveat of oh, this is crazy, or I have this crazy thing, or it's no, just this thing that I believe in, right? I believe we're going to Florida at the beginning of next month for our anniversary. So we're going to go down to the ocean and hang out at the beach and spend some time down there. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was telling him that I'm going to hang out with some dolphins when I go down there. And I wasn't he thought I was kind of initially talking about the type of experience where you go and you get to swim with dolphins and you pay some money and everything like that. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to go hang out with some dolphins. I'm already connecting to and talking to some dolphins. And when we get down there, they'll show up, and it'll be an opportunity to just go swim in the water and hang out with some dolphins. And so I actually do want, but I'm curious if you could speak to the possible ability, or what it would feel like to connect with just animals in general, not necessarily your pets or the animals that you feel a connection to, right? Just being able to connect with animals at large, animals in the wild, animals that exist all over, right?
Ooh, that's a huge topic. So I had the opportunity to do so many amazing things. And one of them have been traveling to the Maldives. And when I was sitting on a boat there, I watched this dolphin, this whale, this fish. And I was like, I want to communicate with you, but I have no chance at all to how to do that. And then a voice, like a mutual voice of the collectiveness of them, said, communicate to the ocean. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I just send out a thought to the ocean. Hey guys, I'm your friend. I'm so sorry I'm interrupting the ocean right now on a boat, And then a mutual voice came back to me telling me, oh, no. And I know this for a fact. I couldn't, invent this. It wasn't my imagination. I would never imagine myself saying this. And the voice said, no, you misunderstand. It is not our water or our ocean. It belongs to all of us. And that's the beauty of when I communicate with animals. They don't focus on theirs and yours and mine. They focus on our and ourness, like a total collective I don't even comprehend in my brain. When I went to Africa and went on a safari and communicated with wild animals, I totally understood why human beings think elephants and dolphins are the most intelligent species on this planet. And it's because they can help one another, and they have telepathical communication. So when we as human beings say the dolphin has the sonar system and they can sense another friend that is caught in a fishnet, so they're going to swim out miles away and rescue the dolphin, that's intelligence. And I'm like, no, that's telepathy and oneness. When an elephant will walk for miles because it senses one of our friends died. They said that, talked about another situation like that on the telepathy tape as well. But we know that from elephants. That's telepathy. That's focus on us as a pack. And when human beings think that we are the smartest one on this planet, the most intelligent ones on this planet, we have to doubt that, because we measure intelligence by math or chemistry or being able to calculate things. But if we measured intelligence, emotional intelligence, the animals are way smarter than you and I on this planet, because they focus on helping one another, But yeah, that was definitely my experience in the wildlife. And when I asked a lion, am I disturbing you? Are you okay? It was just like totally ignoring me. And I got to understand it's because they are not socialized. They don't care about me, because they are like, whatever, car, human being, I don't know, and I don't care. I'm focused on my prey, and that's basically it. So it was such a raw instinct down there. And that's a very vulnerable debate as well, but when I helped in zoos, because I got hired a lot of zoos here in Europe, helping their elephants, sea lions, monkeys, chimps, a lot of various species. When I asked them, because I was so curious, do you feel captivated? Should we be sorry for paying a ticket to go see you? Do you feel like we're looking at you? The animals that had most space in their cages didn't feel captivated. And often they were born in the zoo. So they said, captive what? I don't know. What is that? I don't question where I live, because I don't know anything else besides from living here. But the animals that had been moved from one zoo to another, or sold, or lost friends because they died, it was a little bit more difficult for them to be there. Let me say that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so much wonderful information. Is there a difference between, because as I sit and think about it and ponder more about it, and which I have been doing ever since listening to the telepathy tapes, is just allowing my brain to open up and think about all of these things in completely different ways than I've ever thought about them before. But specifically in regards to animals, is there, like, do we have the ability to connect to and communicate with, the smallest, tiniest insects, like, ants and worms and, tiny, tiny little things, and obviously all the way up to, whales and elephants and everything like that? Is that ability there regardless, or is it a different frequency? Is it, like you mentioned, the lion is very much in a more instinctual, mindset of being a predator and everything like that? How does that all work out?
Well, telepathy is telepathy, and the gateway in is empathy and being able to visualize or listen to it as thoughts. And that will sound like the tone of your own voice in your head. And you would say, is that my imagination? Did I say that? Or did he say that? Or don't trust yourself. Just, believe in it so it can flow. Otherwise, it's going to be annoying for the one transmitting. Like, you're interrupting me all the time here. I'm like sitting here sending you information. Why can't you just fetch, take it? The intelligence and the level of understanding is very different. I believe that you are able to communicate with minerals, stones, plants, trees, everything, because everything is energy. And with energy, you can communicate, but the intelligence and understanding of what is going on varies a lot. So when I communicated with a goldfish, for example, we know the brain are the size, very small brain, and it forgets very easily. And that was very clear. It was like I kept on and saying the same questions. I was like, is it unintelligent, or is it, oh, that's how it works. Okay. When I communicate with pigeons in Copenhagen, the capital city of Denmark, we have pigeons all over the place, and I ask them, what are you thinking about right now? Food. Food, 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 food. I'm like, would you tell me your personality? No, I'm more focused on food, which also, is that unintelligent? No, it's just a matter of level of the focus and, the understanding. When we have a cat, it's much more selfish. Feed me, pet me. And if you don't, I'm going to, walk out of this house and stay away forever. I'm not loyal, And when we have the dogs, they are so, because they're pack animals, they're so dependent on the human beings. I cannot rest before everyone is home, I'm focused on, where's my dad? Where's the mom? What about the children? Which also can be very stressful for a dog. So it's more focused about others to before itself, actually. And the horses is the only animals we're sitting on. They are very focused on, what do I sense, feel the rider is sending down or transmitting, not deliberately, but transmitting. If I had a bad day, it will go to the horse, actually also the dog, but it's getting more, it's clearer when it's a horse and it can't perform because it's such a huge animal. So all riders know their weaknesses becomes the horse's weaknesses, and their strengths or strong side becomes the strong side of the horse. They know that. And that's telepathy as well. That's mirroring neurons. It's so simple. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did.
Do you have, like, because I know you have so many experiences and so many, and there's like your ocean is deep with these, but is there one that you could tell us, something that is on the surface right now, like connected to your heart, one of a communication that you've had with an animal? It doesn't have to be recent, but just like really stands out, that was a very heart-touching experience for you that you're willing to share.
Oh, that's a good question, because I think all animals have important messages. Those session that makes the biggest impact on me is when it's not such an acute problem that the animal's owner have. So there is room for a more deeper conversation. So it's not, oh my God, my horse is sick, or oh my God, my dog suffers from this and this. What medicine should I choose, or is it a new saddle? So they are very specific on a solution. But when animal owners give space to figuring out, what can I learn from my animal and what am I passing on to my animal, that will take the conversation to a deeper level. And I have so many of those. The other questions are perfectly fine. And if you heard on the telepathy tapes, can we do that? Yes. Could I tell what an animal feels, thinks, emotionally, health-wise, and physically? Yes. But on that deeper level, on why did we choose one another? What is our path together while we are here? Do we have a chance to change things, develop things, inside of ourselves while we are together? And this is also why I see so many animals leave planet Earth and their pet parents' side when the pet parents are ready, and not a minute before, right? So they are hanging on to life, and often they should have been put down maybe a half year earlier, but they are just sticking through it because they know he's not going to survive if I'm not here. They're so much putting themselves in there, in the relations with human beings. And it's not like they're suffering or, here we go again. I'm sacrificing myself. No, they're just doing it. Oh, are you okay, Steph?
I'm okay. That just really resonates.
Oh,
So,
okay. With one of
yeah.
your animals.
We had a really special dog. We moved a few years ago. We had a really big move across the country. And prior to that move, we ended up having to put her name was Angel. And she was just a magical dog. And we would joke sometimes about how she had it almost seemed like 9 lives because she just kept
Yeah.
showing up, kept hanging on, and yeah. So that concept and idea that you just shared is very much resonating because that's what it felt like she did was she held on and she held on and she kept just being there for us until it was time.
Yeah.
And it was finally time in our journey of selling our house and making the decisions and the moves and getting everything squared away and planned. And it was it got to the point where it was okay, we knew that it was going to be too hard for her to try to do that move because it was like a huge, long, big, we had to drive across the country and pack up. And I mean, she was 18 years old. She was very, very she
hung on.
She hung out for a really long time.
Yeah.
Amazing. 18 years old. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And we need to help. Often we need to help them while it's worthy, right? As well.
Yeah. So yeah.
I want to hug you, Steph. I'm giving you an online hug here.
I receive. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm okay. It was just it just hit. It just hit.
And you know what? I'm happy that it hit you because your question was, what is specifically touching in my work? That level of understanding touches me so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's ask you some questions. We've got some questions.
Yes.
You first.
Okay.
I gather my.
I'm not going to be able to pronounce their name. I don't know what their username was, so I'm not even going to try. But this is a great question, actually. Do you think that more people who open up to their side telepathic abilities have, and I don't know the 100th monkey that they're referring to, but I'm assuming it's the concept and idea of kind of like a collective consciousness thing where, monkeys on this side of the planet experience something. I don't want to even speculate, but I'll just read it. The abilities that, like the 100th monkey, others will naturally begin to resonate to have these abilities blossom on their own. So it's if we wake up these abilities within ourselves and the more people that do, then is it going to raise the vibration or more people are going to be experiencing it just in a natural way because it's happening more, I guess, is their question.
Yeah.
And I apologize if I didn't get that question right, but yeah, I don't know what the 100th monkey is.
I don't know what 100 monkeys are either, but to answer the question, yes, of course we're going to raise the energy because when we meditate, when we are at ease, calm, inner peace, we have a very grounded emotion in our physical bodies, but we are very light-headed, if that makes sense. So we make rooms. It's like an empty shell on top of our heads, which makes it lighter. And we need the light frequencies and the lightness in the world. The anxiety, the skepticism is depressant. It's heavy energy. And when we create a movement like the telepathy tapes has kickstarted now, because I think there are so many energy workers, so many spiritual workers, animal communicators cheering on the telepathy tapes right now because they have kicked in the doors to the debate on telepathy is a thing, It can't depend on the telepathy tapes or one woman Kaidigans. It can't. We need to be active in our decisions and openness to keep it going out there in various countries. And like any other waves, like Black Lives Matters or, hashtag something went viral, we create the wave and awareness because we keep focus on it. And when we allow ourselves to be telepathic or spiritual or energy working, our children picks up on that as well, the acceptance of me being me. And then we have created another generation where it will be easier for them to believe in what they believe in. They are more focused on the collective. Actually, our children are more focused on that. So generation after generation, it will increase. Yeah, it will.
I was going to ask you too, what are some of your own personal kind of like spiritual practices in order to kind of stay in the space to be able to do this on a regular basis? What stuff that you do that you find helpful?
It's definitely meditation, and I do that every day, and it's nature. Being in, just going for a walk in nature. I don't even have to hug a tree, but breathe. And when I'm so stressed, I ask the trees for help. It sounds ridiculous, but I do. Will you take my stress away from me? And I'm sorry that you're going to take it, but just then you can breathe it down to, Gaia or Mother Earth for me, So I spend a lot of time in nature when it's possible. Yeah.
One of our daughters had a question too about her cat. I'll let Steph ask it. Yeah.
She says, so first of all, her cat is an indoor cat. It's, she's not at risk of going out and mass breeding, how we have the spay and neuter issue out there with so many animals. So her baby is very, very indoors. She says she feels like she needs permission from her cat to get her fixed rather than making that choice for her. So how would she go about doing that? Because she's really on that debate of, should I get her fixed? Should I not?
I would just ask the cat, can we please make the agreement that a yes is turn the head right and a no is turn your head left. And then it's very important that your daughter will trust when your cat will do it, or her cat will do it. It will not take a second. It might take 2-3 minutes, and keep repeating the question without putting a pressure on it. Just saying, if it's a yes, please turn the head to the right. If it's a no, please turn the head to the left. And when the cat chooses one of the sides, it's important not to go again, because that's just going to be annoying for the cat, because a cat would go, oh my God, I just showed it to you, trust me on this one. She'll get one opportunity to do it and then trust it, because animals can and are interested in the confirmation. So they know, oh my God, my human being understand what I'm saying. This is going to be super easy from now on. And then the behavior changes actually when they know that we have telepathy intact here. So that's my recommendation for your daughter, if you can use it.
I love that.
Yes. Thank you.
She's going to dig that.
That's exciting. Yes.
She's an animal lover like Steph's mom. She's got just the biggest heart when it comes to animals, and she's got a zoo over at her place right now.
Right. Seriously. She has all the animals,
so
all the creatures, all the, she's an equal opportunity. She loves them all.
You should become an animal communicator then. She probably is already.
We joke and call her Stevie Doolittle. So, yeah.
Ditte, thank you so much for this. This has been so wonderful and so amazing. We really, really appreciate it. Is there anything that you'd like to share before we wrap up? Anything that we might not have covered that you would like people to know about, or
where we can find you, learn from you, book with you, all of that? Yeah.
Yes, that. But just in general, this is such a huge topic right now in our life. And I think, like you said, with the telepathy tapes, it's waking up so many different things in people, as well as validating so many different things for people out there. And if there's just something else that you would like to share, we would love to hear it.
Oh, I have so many things. But to make it short, I do believe that with great powers or great abilities and gifts comes great responsibility. So I think it's very important that when people will go off and play with their telepathical abilities, or take classes, or other spiritual workers will probably try to make a buck on this now, it's important to say, always ask for permission when you practice telepathy. We can't create a world where everyone is tuning in on one another, because we still need our privacy, So there are two ways to go. When telepathy is getting more and more popular, more and more people will start to tune in on things they're not allowed in tuning into. And then other people need to learn about protection, how to protect themselves. So to prevent that, we could make the high standard saying we are not tuning in to other souls for a two-legged if we don't have the acceptance from the client, right? The only thing I hope to get covered is I hope people will go search my name on Google, find my website. I have two doors when you enter ditteyoung.com: animals and children, non-speakers. And I'm trying my best to create a massive universe with online classes. I already have that in Danish, but I didn't see it coming, this huge success the telepathy tapes showed up to be. So I'm producing. I have online classes for animal communication, online classes for parents who like to help their neurodivergent children or non-speakers. But I also want people out there to know nothing would make me prouder in the world to help you. And I know so many people are trying to get in right now and book a session with me. Some people think I'm too expensive. Some people think the waiting list is way too long, etc., etc. And I'm trying my best here to create products that is for everyone to purchase. Regardless the rate. Yes, to book me, that's expensive. Yeah. But I have the informations in so many other platforms, social medias, YouTube channels, blogs, articles. So I've done my best to create free informations to those of you who would like to get to know me better. Yeah. And you can find me on all platforms: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. By searching my name.
Awesome. We'll make sure that we share it all in the show notes as well. And I'm glad that you mentioned earlier that you'll come back, because we totally want to have you back. You're welcome on the podcast anytime, and we would love to have you come back and talk about all of this stuff. Is just such a, it's our jam. It's what we're into. It's so exciting for us. So thank you so much.
And thank you for having me. And I would actually really love to come back, because the level of this, communication we had and shared energy, because I was touched too, as I felt I moved something in you, and I can feel that all the way to Copenhagen, Denmark right now. And I want more of that. So yeah, I would love to get back on your show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
And we wrap up each episode with our fun tagline. It's our amazing mantra that we've come up with. It's expect the best.
Plan for the greatest.
We got a wild ride. Wait and see, you and me. We were meant to be.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. You've made it all the way to the end, and we are so grateful for you. If you have a moment, you could take time to like, subscribe, and share this episode. It really helps us. And also, if you liked this episode, which you're still here, so you probably did, you might like these clips too. And again, thanks for supporting the Steph and Craig Show. There's new episodes every week. See you next time.